Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, let's get into the news this Wednesday morning. News out of Arizona just continues to get worse and worse, and the way things are shaping up, we know Maricopa County yesterday voted to go ahead and certify the election, even though they had so many issues with the voting machines that were down that did franchise thousands of voters in Maricopa County. They knew the issues heading into the election. They did nothing about it, because they knew it would benefit them in the long run. And that's what they did. Maricopa County. Well, Katie Hobbs, who did not recuse herself, being the Secretary of State overseeing the election, and the state that she was running in, did not recuse herself from that role, and is now suing counties in the state of Arizona for not wanting to certify their election because they want answers. They want accountability. And Katie Hobbs says, no, I'm going to sue you under Arizona law to ensure that I become governor of the state because I need those votes. So again, carry or not carry, like Katie Hobbs is doing whatever she can, just as Democrats always do. They find ways in order to utilize the law in order to ensure that their corrupt ways are enshrined. So let's go take a look what we have here. Coming to us from Election Wizard over here on Twitter. It says, just in Arizona, Secretary of State Katie Hobbs sues Coke Ice County for failing to certify its election results by today. Statutory deadline. Hobbs alleges that the county and two advisors are violating Arizona law, and Kari Lake's war room also chimed in. Wait till she Googles the word conflict of interest, but she doesn't care, right? Katie Hobbs is going to do whatever it takes in order to ensure that she is the governor of the state of Arizona, and Democrats are going to go along with it. The rhinos in Arizona are going to go along with it. The mainstream media is going to give her cover. And when they sit there and they went Kari Lake challenges to this and says, hey, you can't be doing this, they're gonna say, oh, you're just an election denier. We're talking about fraudulent votes or whatever. And that's not what she's talking about whatsoever. Right. Kari Lake is obviously pointing to the fact that they had faulty machines. They knew it. They knew going into the election day allowed it to happen to have long lines, and predominantly Republican areas where they knew turnout would be at record levels, and they knew it would not benefit Katie Hobbs if they had all the machines working, so they had to ensure that those machines were not going to be addressed, as machines weren't going to be fixed. And then when they sent out the repairman to come repair the machines, they got even worse after the repairs. This was obviously planned. They knew going into election day that they were having issues with those machines. And they knew it's going to cause long lines and people not wanting to stay in boat, benefiting Katie Hobbs. This is why Katie Hobbs knew that she didn't have to go campaign. She didn't have to go and debate. She didn't have to appear on the debate stage or face Kari Lake, because she knew that if they could suppress the vote, they could win the election. And she knew it. And that's why she never recused herself of being the Secretary of State. And she knew that her handling of the election would never be called into question by the mainstream media. And this is some big news. So the media over the last couple of days has been doing what the media does, attacking Donald Trump, pushing faux outrage and scandal, and of course, doing the whole thing while lying and manipulating the public. In other words, pushing garbage propaganda. And you know, this stuff bothers me. It bothers me a whole lot. This isn't some breaking bombshell major news report, but it is something that I want to talk about. It's something that deserves more context because, like most things, there's more nuance than what it seems on surface level. And of course, the mainstream media refuses to report or shed light on the set and nuance. We're talking about this Kanye West Milo Yiannopoulos. Nick Flint has visited at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Oh, the outrage, the horror. And of course, the conversation isn't focused on Kanye West Milo Yiannopoulos or Nick Fuentes teaming up in a presidential run, and no, of course not. The media is focusing on guilt by supposed association, Donald Trump. Oh, this means that everything we told you about Donald Trump, about his connection to all these despicable people? Well, it's true. Well, no, it's not at all. I'll tell you why. I'll show you why. And we'll get into the absolute utter hypocrisy of this issue. All right, folks. So of course, you're aware. This is the new presidential hopeful trio, Kanye West, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Nick Fuentes, an interesting group to say the least. My opinion, I don't care. People can do what they want. They can feel how they feel, have whatever opinions they want. If they want to group up and do something, go for it. I don't care. Let the American people decide. I'm not going to sit here on my high horse and try to condemn anyone. I'm going to take a very simple stance here. I don't care. But moving on from this trio. The Donald Trump story of the week is that these three individuals visited Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago and everywhere all over the news media. Donald Trump associates with vicious anti-Semite and alt-right extremists, neo-Nazi blah, blah, and Donald Trump is supposedly guilty by association, except what they're not telling you is that what apparently really happened at Mar-a-Lago. Well, firstly, we should probably fill in the context here. Apparently, Kanye West was going to Mar-a-Lago to ask President Trump if he wanted to be his running mate in 2024. So that's one little interesting tidbit, but secondly, the whole thing was apparently an ambush or very hostile. You know, the media is making it seem as if Donald Trump set up this meeting or was aware of these individuals coming over to his home and that it was all lollipops, puppies, and rainbows. But that's not the case at all. Breaking Trump responds after Thanksgiving dinner with Kanye uninvited guests that turned hostile. In response to the controversy, Trump posted on Truth Social saying, "This past week Kanye West called me to have dinner at Mar-a-Lago. Shortly hereafter, he unexpectedly showed up with 3 of his friends whom I knew nothing about. We had dinner on Tuesday evening, with many members present on the back patio. That dinner was quick and uneventful. They then left for the airport. So Kanye West reached out to Donald Trump and said he wanted to visit Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump said sure, and then Kanye brought these uninvited guests. In other words, this has nothing to do with Donald Trump and who he chooses to be around. And the idea that these individuals have a close relationship and their views mirror each other is totally ridiculous. Considering after the event, which was supposedly uneventful and some people are reporting the dinner itself got hostile, Milo Yiannopoulos took to Twitter and wrote this: Nick and Ye didn't discredit Trump's 2024 campaign with that dinner meeting. Trump did that himself by having the most boring, low-energy announcement speech in history. Now the rest of his statement, we're going to totally redact because he's going into some stuff that I just don't feel comfortable bringing here on YouTube, even if I'm just reporting on it. But I guess the point that I'm getting at is it's clearly not a cozy relationship between these two parties. I mean, after all, if you think about it, if Kanye West is serious about running for president, Donald Trump is going to be his opponent. These individuals have a vested interest in destroying Donald Trump's reputation and legacy, not being his friend, the association that the media is trying to make here. That connection is nothing but propaganda. It's clear, slender, it's a total misrepresentation of what's really going on. But that point aside, let's get into another point that I think should be raised. Donald Trump had dinner with these very supposedly unsavory individuals. So Donald Trump can have dinner with whoever he pleases. You know, speaking to somebody, having a dinner with somebody, or even being friends with somebody doesn't mean that you endorse all of their viewpoints. And this whole guilt by association thing is kind of ridiculous. You can disagree review mentally with somebody and still believe in their right to speak, still have a relationship with them. They could be a family member, you're going to be at dinner with them during family dinners. They might have crazy ideas, but their viewpoints, their politics is never a representation of who you are. And anybody who tries to make that connection is clearly being dishonest. And if we use that exact same standard, well then once again, it's one of those situations, you know, that thing that we're constantly talking about? Oh, yeah, friggin' left this hypocrisy. Let's talk about guilt by association. I seem to remember a story that broke last week, or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago. Actually, time's going pretty fast. It's almost Christmas. Some Democrat, connected rich kid from MIT, who ran a straight-up crypto Ponzi scheme and platform of fraud where he funneled supposedly millions, but some say hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to Democrat activist groups, Democrat campaigns, PACs, and even Ukraine. Well, that certainly seems like guilt by association. I also seem to remember Obama having a personal relationship with this individual. What's the guy's name? Oh, yeah. Louis Farrakhan. We're going to talk about vicious anti-Semites. Has Obama ever denounced Louis Farrakhan? Has ever apologized for his association with this individual? No. What about Joe Biden? I was reminiscing about having lunch and dinner with segregationist in the Senate. Everyone listen to this, Biden says. You know, things have kind of changed since the days when I first got there. He's been there a couple of terms. I was there. I got elected when I was 29 years old, the United States Senate from a very modest background, and I was there for 36 years before becoming vice president. We always used to fight like hell. And even back in the old days when we had real segregation of Slike, Eastland, and Thurman, all those guys, but we ended up eating lunch together. Things to change. We got to have your back. Rob, I'm sorry. You're leaving because you're one of the good guys. I mean, because the way you treat other senators where you treat everybody, I appreciate it. Okay folks, do we now find Joe Biden guilty by association? What about Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, the Hamas caucus? I mean, those are members that are part of their political party. Guilt by association. No hypocrisy. Donald Trump can have dinner with whoever he pleases. And the idea that you shouldn't have dinner with people who may have different viewpoints, let's say again, is ridiculous. Even if those viewpoints are bigoted, if that was the case, then I could never have any leftists over for dinner. But obviously, jokes aside, I don't view shunning individuals or exiling individuals from society as a great strategy if we are to heal and solve these divisions. There's this individual, I forget his name. He's on the Joe Rogan podcast all the time. And he's a black man who's dedicated his life to forming friendships with KKK members, takes them out to dinner. He goes over to their homes, he forms bonds with them. And guess what? He pulls a lot of them out of their bigotry. He creates a sincere connection with people and actually does something positive with it. Let me get the guy's name up here right back. How one man convinced 200 Ku Klux Klan members to give up their robes. His name is Daryl Davis. I mean, that to me seems commendable. Anyways, I guess in conclusion, in the end, the point that I'm trying to make here is that the media is terribly dishonest. It's yet again another anti-Trump slander propaganda hit piece. I'm not buying it. Way too much hypocrisy, and I just wanted to make this video to get my opinion out there. Alright, thanks for being here folks, please receive a big hug from all of us, let me know down